All right, I think that's everyone who's joined. We like to give a few minutes at the beginning of each webinar for everyone to join. So hi, everyone. My name is Amal Qwatli. I'm a Senior Engagement Specialist at Ed Plus with Arizona State University. And today we're here with our success advisors, Dr. Louis Yako and Nada Al-Nuno, presenting a new kind of webinar topic for you, which is strategies to advancing your educational and career goals. So today, obviously, this webinar is given as part of the Young Thinkers program. And the Young Thinkers program is a partnership platform between the Abdullah Al-Ghurair Foundation for Education and Arizona State University. So a special thanks to all our partners and beneficiaries who have helped make this program and help advance this program to where it is today. I don't want to take too much of your time, but just briefly go over the idea of this session. So Dr. Louis and Nada today will be sharing their tips to advancing your goals. And also at the end of the session, we'll have a Q&A session. So you can ask any question you like that's education and career related anytime within this webinar today. So it can be while they're speaking, towards the end, and at the end, we will sort through the questions and answer them. And Dr. Louis and Nada are great at kind of guiding young thinkers and prospective students and early career professionals in attaining their goals. So hopefully they will help you. Please know that all of us are fluent in both English and Arabic. So if you do feel more comfortable asking a question in Arabic, we will answer your question in Arabic. And if you ask a question in English, we will answer that in English as well. So to quickly introduce today's speakers, we have Dr. Louis Yako. I think you've seen him many times over. He has a PhD in Humanities and Social Sciences from Duke University, and he's specialized in researching higher education in the Middle East. And Nada Al-Nuno is a success advisor also for the females at the Young Thinkers programs with a master's degree in mathematics, and is also an instructor at a college in Texas. So thank you both for coming today to spread some knowledge and wisdom to our young thinkers. So without further ado, I am going to pass along the microphone to Dr. Louis.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome everybody. We are really, really happy to have you with us today. And we were looking forward to this day. We think this is a very important webinar. It's a great time. The timing is really critical because you're about to start the summer season. And I'm sure a lot of you have a lot of thoughts and maybe even doubts about what is good to do, how can I spend my time in the best way possible, and so on. So what we decided, as you will see today, the way we designed this webinar is there's less talking from our side and giving a lot more time to you. We're going to give you a lot of time to talk and ask questions. So you can do them while we're going through the slides, but also at the end, there will be plenty of time. We will also do some polls, بعض الاستبيانات, to find out how you feel about certain things, where you are, because this is a great way for us to know you. And there's nothing better. There's no better way for us to help you than to know you. The more we know you in a personalized, tailored manner. So we in advance really appreciate your presence and your engagement in this webinar. So we will begin with the first poll, which is, where are you in your career path? أين أنت الآن من الطريق المهني؟ أو أين أنت الآن من الطريق المهني؟ يعني ممكن يعني تعطونا الأجوبة حسب الإجابات الموجودة. يعني في أي مرحلة أنتم الآن؟ High school, university student, recent graduate, employed but looking for new opportunity, and so on. It would just help us to get a sense of all of you in the place where you are right now. Nice numbers. I'm seeing that most of you are university students. A good number of you are recent graduates. Some Some of you are employed but looking for other opportunity, also a good number. I'm also glad to see we have some high schoolers. This is a great thing, actually, because Nada and I always believed, and we've talked a lot about this as colleagues, we believe that high school is one of the best times to start thinking about all these things, honestly. And a lot of the challenges people face is because they start a bit later or they don't get the right guidance. So this is fantastic. Okay, so I'm seeing that most of you are university students right now, which is wonderful, and recent graduates, a significant number also, looking for opportunity, employed but looking for opportunity, 14%. That's wonderful. So that's great. Thank you all for sharing this with us. Moving to the next point. This is very helpful. So we have another one to ask you. Sorry, just bear with us a bit here. Your professor is looking, this is a scenario, I want you to answer it for us, because as you will see, it will be very good to think about it. Imagine this happened in real life, right? So your professor, your teacher, is looking for a summer intern to start working on a project next week. And it is very interesting for you. You are interested in the project. Could you provide them with your CV today? If this happened in real life, would you be able to send your CV right away today? Let's see the answers for this question. Wow, I'm so happy that you're all responding. We're getting a really good thing.
And a good number is saying yes, so this is amazing.
Exactly, yes.
I just want to remind everyone, if you don't know, the polls are completely anonymous, so we don't see who answers what. So just so that it gives you that extra level of comfort.
Yeah, feel free to be honest. We're not going to judge.
Yeah. I love it. I see that 74% of you, the attendees, we have almost 51 attendee here. 74 say yes, it's ready, and then 26% of you say no, which is okay. But this is really good for us to know, right? And for you to know, because these things could happen. Somebody saying, I didn't make one, it's my first semester in the nursing college, and that's totally fine. I mean, this is not like you're doing something wrong if you don't have it. It's just one of this scenario, the purpose of this scenario is to help you think that these things could happen in real life. And the idea behind it, it's extremely important to be ready at any time, because you never know when is the right opportunity going to present itself. So being ready is extremely important. Of course, being ready in the best way possible, not just being ready like to just send whatever, right? There's the Arabic saying that goes, الفرصة سريعة الجريان بطيئة العودة. It's not always easy to find opportunities. When they come, they go very quickly, and it's hard for you to have it back again. So being ready is a great way to handle such situations. Thank you for the responses. Wonderful. So moving to the next slide. So based on this, as you saw, it's really important to begin. When we think about the summer, when we think about being ready, when we think about planning our path, our career, especially, even if you are, most of you, as always, as you noticed, you're still at the university, it is crucial to think about your CV. And honestly, let me say something just back to the istibyan, to the poll that we just had. Even if you said yes, I want to remind you that just saying having a CV ready is not enough. You should make sure it's up to standard, it's polished, it's the best possible. And there's always a chance for making your CV better, for polishing it, for learning, the right protocols and techniques, depending on where you apply, what kind of work you want, what kind of, place you're interested in. So my point is that it's an ongoing process. You will always be polishing your CV. So I'm very happy most of you have it ready, but also remember that it's a process of always being ready. So, and that's why we have this slide, polish your resume or CV. And that includes continuously update your CV. Updating your CV is important because whenever you apply to a position, you want to reflect the depth and the breadth, right? عمق ومدى of the experience that you have. And that's very important. At the same time, you want to also reflect the latest things you've done. Very often, what you've done lately might be very related and very to what you want to do, maybe very related to your career path, but also it shows people what have you been doing lately. That's a very important thing, right? Because if the last thing I have on my CV is from 2017, then, we have an issue here. An employer or anybody would wonder, what was I doing between 2017 and now? So updating, polishing is extremely important. Tailor your CV for each position. This is the second important point. That's what we mean, to have it ready, to polish it. Now, I've had a lot of situations actually happen to me personally, and people at the Young Thinkers program have also asked me in the past, whether through email, the advising email, or chatting. They will say, I have too much. What should I do? How can I tailor my CV? Like, how can I, because you also don't want to have a very long CV. Or some people say, I have a very short CV, like I don't have much. What should I do? Tailor your CV for each position. By that, we mean you should read the position carefully, understand the company or the place, wherever that place, even if it's an internship, even if it is on your campus, understand the position and make sure that whatever is in your CV speaks to that position. By that, I don't mean you add things that didn't happen or things that don't exist. It means to highlight, to put to the front the things that are very connected to the position you're applying to. So tailoring, and تفصلها على مقاس of the job or the internship or whatever you're thinking to do. Now, if you have a very long CV, the technique that I really prefer, the advice that I've read over and over again, is obviously you don't have to put everything. Very often the last 7 years, the last 5 years is the best thing to have. You don't have to put something from much longer. I know most of you are still younger, you probably don't have that length, but in the future, this might be a good advice. Now, unless that thing you've done 10 years ago is very relevant and very important for this particular post that you're applying to, in that case, you can include it. But you can tailor your CV by making it, by emphasizing or including the things, the education, the experience that are the closest, the most relevant to the position you're applying to. Now, note, not including something from much older than 7 years, that's not the same as adding something that is not true. Not including is not lying, because it happened, it just is not relevant, and you want to have a shorter CV. But to add something that you don't have, that is a very dangerous thing. I do not recommend you do that. Be very careful in being honest in your CV, because that matters. That will get you, that will make you a better candidate, but also people will trust you and so on. So tailor your CV for each position. I hope this is clear, but I'm open to questions. I know this is an important point. Seek advice. And by that, we mean, again, I think my CV is great and ready, but maybe if I show it to some people that I trust, whether colleagues or friends, maybe there will be typos, grammatical mistakes. Maybe there's something I totally missed, and maybe there are some typos, as I said. So having colleagues and friends review can be really helpful. No matter how much you review your own work, no matter how much you edit, that's why we have people whose work is editors, but also sometimes a second set of eyes can make a huge difference. So don't be shy, don't hesitate if you have people you trust, and trust not only in the sense of personally, but also professionally. Sometimes I have colleagues, they're not my best friends, but I really trust them. I respect them very much. So I would be very happy to show them my CV to see if there are typos, if it's professional, if it is the best it can be. So do not hesitate to do that. Make sure your CV is concise and error-free. This goes back to everything I've been saying so far. So I'm not going to spend more time talking about this. And factually correct. Again, I talked about it. It's really important not to put incorrect or false statements or information. There are gazillion stories of people being discovered lying about language or a skill or something, and then they get fired, they get disciplined, or they simply, people lose trust in you. So why would you want to ever be in that position? It's better to not have something and learn it and show in your cover letter that I'm interested in this, I have this skill I would love to learn when I get this job, I want to get better at. Now, the employer knows that when you come, you may not know everything about the job or have everything, but the point is to show that you are willing to learn and get better. And always remember, you don't go perfect to a job as the perfect person. You should also learn on that job, because if you know everything perfectly, then that job might not be perfect for you because it may not help you grow. The only way you can grow is when you go into a job where you know a lot of things, but also there are some things you could learn and do better on that job. That way it's a أخذ وعطاء، يعني تتعلم من الوظيفة وأنت أو بتخلي أنت المهارات أو العلم اللي عندك. Okay, so moving to the next slide. And actually, this is also a poll, Esteban. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Your friend wants to share your LinkedIn profile in order to recommend you for a job at his company. Is your LinkedIn profile ready for a potential employer to review? Let's hear the thoughts and answers on this one.
And while we wait for you guys to answer this poll, just a quick reminder, if you have a question while we're talking, share it in the Q&A section of the webinar. That way your question won't get lost in chat and we will be able to see it. Okay, that way it's like they're separated from all the comments and we can make sure we see every single question. Oh, good percentage is saying yes.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. We still
Well,
have more
it's
comments
almost
coming in.
50-50 in this case,
Almost, yes.
right?
Yes. It's evening out, 51-49. Okay.
Yeah. Well, the next slide will talk about the importance of this point. As you see, 51% of you said yes, and 49%, so almost half of you are not ready. They don't have the LinkedIn profile ready. And this is important, really, and we will show you why and how in the next slide. And here I will hand it to my colleague Nada, because she actually is very good at this stuff. And I hope you will benefit from, you know, the valuable stuff that she will say on this.
All right, you guys. So creating a LinkedIn profile and making sure you have an online persona ready for your employers to view and be able to assess who you are as a professional is very important, because one, it helps you connect with multiple people across the globe, not just in your country or in your field. Two, it helps set who you want to be, or the image of who you want to be seen as a professional for all your employers. So there are a few points that you need to be sure to include or demonstrate in your online account on LinkedIn or any other platform you see is necessary. One is to have a focus. Your profile needs to tell a story. It needs to tell your employers who you are as a professional, how your mindset works, what your interests are, display your passion, and have every single important skill that could be related to your field labeled and highlighted. Now, when I say this, list anything you think is important, but be careful, because too much clutter or too many details might distract potential employers from what you want them to see or the good qualities that you want them to have. The second thing is to be genuine. As much as you want to impress potential employers, stay factual and say everything as it is. Be truthful, because when you're genuine, the authenticity of what you write is going to show how passionate you are about your field and your job and how much you want this opportunity. And last but not least, you need to be sure to create connections and understand that this process takes time. It's not something that's going to happen within one day. It's like, oh, my LinkedIn profile is up and ready. The next day, you're going to have someone contact you. No, it sometimes takes weeks. It takes months. You need to be patient and stay consistent. So keep updating it with everything new. Keep sharing any articles or thoughts or books that you've read that you think will reflect positively on you, because that's what employers view, not just your profile, your communication history, your activity, everything you've been doing. So that's in a gist everything you need to do about your LinkedIn profile. And make sure that every single time something new happens in your life, any new project you take on, share it on your LinkedIn profile and stay connected to everybody. All right, on to the next slide.
So thank you very much, Nada. This was wonderful. And also I want to acknowledge we're seeing your questions. We're going to get to them, all of them. I see questions about LinkedIn. We will be with you. Just bear with us. So the next thing to talk about here is to identify the skills that are useful for your career. First of all, when you think about a career, what do you want to be? What kind of career path? I want to really be careful to use the language. There's a big difference between just a job and a career. A job might be something you get to make some money, get a salary. It's a job. It may or may not be connected to your skills, your education, your passion, your long-term thinking, your values as a person. So a job may or may not be. Thinking about a career is a different story. It should be the way to think about it. You should connect all of these. You should find ways to build bridges between what you care about, your values, what is your education, what are your skills. And here begins the way you begin planning your career. And I want to acknowledge it's not easy. It's very hard. In fact, it's getting harder because we have a very complicated world, complicated markets, complicated economy. In many countries in the Arab world, you know, we have all kinds of issues, economic crises, political crises, and so on, right? So it's not easy. And the job market keeps changing. You know, a lot of jobs are dying. We don't even know, according to research, a big number of the future jobs in the next 20 years, we don't even know what the job title will be. And then a big number of jobs might not exist anymore because they won't be needed. So all these changes are difficult. They're not easy for young people trying to plan. And that's why we need to identify what kind of career we're thinking about. What is the short-term and long-term goal to get there? What kind of skills do you have and what kinds of skills you need to get there? So the first point, as you see, it's auditing your existing and transferable skills. Transferable skills means skills that you may need in any field or regardless of your specialty. So you could be a biologist, an engineer, you could be an editor, you could be a computer scientist, you could be anything, but you may need very similar skills that could be transferred from one industry to another, from one workplace to another. For example, communication is a very good, being able, as somebody is saying, Salim is telling us that the art of speech, which we call public speaking, being able to address an audience. Now, you may not always need it, but it's a transferable skill in the sense that you could use it in so many different places. You might have a job that doesn't require a lot of interaction with the people, but if you have the skill, even within that job, you might get to places or get promotions because they will see that you have a very valuable skill. So audit, think about what you have of these existing skills and what do you need, or which skill you have, but you need to work more on it or polish it further. Learn a new or develop an important now skill. So again, by the way, I want to remind you of the purpose of all of this webinar, which is planning your summer. All these things should help you, thinking about LinkedIn profile, thinking about your CV, where it is, how to make it better, thinking about auditing your skills and what kind of skills you could actually begin to work on right now. I gave you communication, public speaking, time management is a very good transferable skill, working with people, solving problems, being innovative and creative, being really a good writer could help, even technical writer, and so on and so forth. These are just examples to help you think. Plan for long-term skill development, and that means if you think about your career and you have a number of skills that you will really need to succeed and to move on this path, it's very good to have a long-term planning. I can begin now, and then I can, start acquiring this skill or do this, or maybe get a training opportunity or get a certificate to keep adding to your skills, right? So this is a very important thing to think about right now. And you might very well be able to begin doing that in the summer. Do example of job openings. By that, I mean, search for example of job openings and skills needed. For example, if you have, your academic training and that you have a career, or you have a number of jobs within a career. But by the way, for example, if you're a biologist, let's say, or if you are an engineer, or if you're a computer scientist, you might be able to work in many different companies within that specialty. And those companies could be different sometimes. You could work as an IT in a hospital, right? So hospital is healthcare. So the point here is that look at job openings and look at job titles where you think you would fit. It's part of your career path. And see, what are these job posts saying? What kind of skills do they want? What kind of abilities? what kind of things they're interested in, and see how you could acquire those, which ones you have, which ones you could improve further, and which ones you don't have. And here's a great time. I could find ways to improve the skill. So all these methods, all these techniques should be able to help you to identify the skills that are useful for your career or for whatever you're planning. And of course, connected with your passion. That's the whole point. Moving to the next slide. So again, we have a poll. We have quite a few today, sorry. So that's because, as I said, we really want you to engage and we want to know you better. And that can help us a lot in understanding things. You're looking at openings for a job or internship. What job search websites would you use? What kind of websites would you use if you're looking for a job? I would be interested to hear your thoughts on that. And we give you examples of some of the most common or well-known websites for job search. LinkedIn, social media, directly visiting a company, a specific company. Bait.com, I think many of you know, it's a big one. Indeed.com is one of the biggest ones. There are some very specialized ones, as you know. For example, Higher Ed is more for higher education jobs. Inside Higher Ed also, and others. So it depends on what kind of job you're looking for. Wow, that's really nice. I see like a variety of answers here. We have a good number, 31% so far of Indeed, Bait.com, 14%. Most of you use LinkedIn. And this is a reminder about why it matters. And I remember half of you didn't have a ready LinkedIn profile. Right. And we can talk more, or I think some of you posted questions about it, and Nada spoke about it also. So I hope some things were clarified already. And we have 60% of you going to social media and 60% directly visiting the company. This is a really great variety of answers. I want to remind you, about something that has happened to me. It's a personal story. And even honestly, my advice here is it's a borderline between professional and personal, because I care about you and I want to be super honest. I've had so many people send me their CVs on WhatsApp or on Viber. I do not recommend that personally. I think it's not a great idea because people use these for quick communication. And if you want someone to take you seriously, to take the time to look at your CV, whether to review it or even to pass it to somebody, it's much better to send it by email. Ask for somebody's email and say, do you mind please sharing your email? I would love to share my CV, or and so on and so forth. Email is much more formal and proficient as a way to share such a thing as CV. It's harder to download on the phone and somebody will look through it. As you see, it's much harder. But if you send it by email, the person will take their time. They will sit down whenever they can, and so on. And I have to be honest, I generally tell people who, especially, I mean, I care about people usually. I don't want to sort of not be nice or not be helpful. But when they send it through an app, I go back and say, please send it through email. That's the only way I can look at it. So I recommend that you be thoughtful in the way you share also. Documents tend to be better by email or other means, but not through quick phone apps and so on. It's just a very quick advice that I hope will be helpful for some of you. Okay, next slide, which is looking for opportunities for professional experience. And I will have my colleague Nada share some thoughts on this one for you.
All right, you guys. Now, looking for experience or wanting to have an experience or looking for a job that requires experience where you don't have it. These are the questions I get most often in chat. Experience is the main concern of anybody who is new to employment or recently employed and looking for a better opportunity. So what you need to understand is that when you have the time, like the summer, you need to be able to find ways to gain this experience before you graduate. That's the ideal thing to do. Now, the most popular way is to find an internship in a field you want, but unfortunately, that's not always possible. So you need to open your horizons to any kind of opportunity that will give you valuable experience. Now, ways you can gain professional experience as in real world work, you need to look for internship, volunteer work, try to work with a family business or a local business to try to find any leadership opportunities that might help you gain some valuable experience as a leader, and you can list that on your CV. And it could be with a professional organization or student organization at university. But one of the really important ones that most people seem to not realize is actually effective is volunteer opportunities, because there's so many ways you can volunteer in your community and your country, and you can help build your society while gaining professional experience. And the thing is, you can find a volunteer opportunity in whatever field you want. And these opportunities are more abundant than internships, so they're easier to find. So if you haven't looked for any volunteer opportunities yet, go ahead and do so. That can actually be very suitable to your schedule. Another way is to gain virtual experience. This is a new way that's being developed by a few companies. Recently, organizations have been creating programs called virtual experience for students who are still in college and trying to see what the role they're trying to go to looks like. One example of a really good one is called Forage, spelled F-O-R-A-G-E. Now, this opportunity or this organization offers free virtual work experience. So you log in, you select a job from the list they have. They don't have a large variety, but it's a good number. You select the job you want from what they have, and you start working as a professional in that field just to see what it's like, to know if you like this field or not. And that counts as professional experience for you. The third thing is to do independent projects. This is a great way for any student who is looking to specialize in a technical field, like technology related, or artistic field, or writing, or any other skill that can be improved with practice. So during the summer, while you have the time, look for local businesses who are looking for people to help them work, be it without compensation, as in volunteering, or with very little pay, and help them out. That way you gain experience in the field you want specifically, and you help a local office. So it's a win-win. That's it for the slide. Can you move on to the next one, please? Now, this topic actually relates very well to setting goals for your summer. And this is actually the last point we want to talk about in this webinar, because creating a plan for the summer, educational plan for your summer, to make sure you can get the most out of it is the entire point. Now, creating goals for your summer can be very tentative, and it can be very specific. It depends on what you want to do. The main thing you need to do is you need to focus on the fact that you want to learn something new this summer, and you want to gain something from whatever you plan to do this summer. So if your plan is to just focus on gaining experience, then all the points I listed in the previous slides will help you do that. But if you plan to also learn something this summer, then look into enrolling in an online course or gaining a new skill this summer. You can enroll in certificate programs or just short training programs that could help you learn a transferable skill that will help you succeed as a professional. You could also use this time to broaden your horizons, because we change as individuals, professionally and personally, with the more we learn. And who you are as a professional depends on the independent identity you form for yourself. And that can only be formed by interacting with others. So you need to open yourself for articles, new points of views, reading books that will help you gain insight, and just making sure you know what your end goal is. But as a little tip, make sure that whatever goal you set this summer is something attainable, something manageable. Don't set it too high, because it's going to be very difficult to achieve. Choose something reasonable and work towards it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nada. And now we come to the question and answer. We will be taking your questions. I know some of you sent your questions in the Q&A, and I also saw some questions in chat. So I captured the chat questions, and then the Q&A are easy because they're obvious. So please put the questions in Q&A if you don't mind, but I'm going to begin with the chat questions because I don't want them to get lost. People chatted and all of that. So the first question is, are there certificates that strengthen our CVs by the end of this lecture? Amal, I think you can answer this question better.
Yes, so as always, within our webinars, we do not give CVs, but we will instruct you toward the ends on how you can visit the El Ghurair Young Thinkers program, enroll in free online courses that are dedicated to building skills that you need to enter the world of work. And after each course, you will also get a free certificate with your name on it. And it's proof that you've actually have done something in your free time. So let's say you're not able to find an internship or job opportunity over the summer. These courses are great ways to prove yourselves to future employers that you stayed busy during your downtime. So we'll give you the URL, and I'll even walk you through the website towards the end of the Q&A session.
And the next question for my colleague Nada, probably she'll be great at this. Could we get some examples of what we can post in LinkedIn?
Sure. Okay, so in LinkedIn, what you need to do is picture what your personal brand is supposed to be, your online, your public persona that you want professional employers to view you as. So when you want to post things where you find an article interesting and you want to share it about engineering, if that's your field, then that's something you share on LinkedIn. However, you do not share an article that talks about the top 5 tips to lose weight, for example. That's not professional. That's not what you want to highlight on your page. Also, under skills, you list skills that are related to your field. It could be something generic that's related to any field, like any languages you speak, like if you have public speaking abilities, if you have time management skills, etc. But you can also list field specific ones, like if you know a coding language, or if you know how to apply accounting principles, or something very, very specific to your field. So on LinkedIn, you need to make sure that whatever image you're trying to portray is supported by the facts and details you list on your profile.
And then next question, also in chat, it was, should I add everything that I have done for volunteering and training opportunities to my LinkedIn profile? Yes, definitely. The answer is simply yes, because
Yes,
it's crucial for employers, especially those of you who don't have much work experience yet. You're still at the university, you haven't worked yet. But even if you have, I mean, most employers, I would say, they treat those volunteering and training opportunities very seriously. It shows that you're learning constantly. It shows that you're doing something important, supporting the community, that you're an active member of your community. So these are treated very much like work experience, and they are recommended. And also on your CV, obviously.
Yes, and it shows that you're a go-getter and you want to learn and you want to improve, and that's a skill every employer wants their employee to have.
The next question is, how can I start my desired job after 12 years working in another career? How can I shift my career? This is a broad question, but it's an important question. It's a really important question. It happens to a lot of people, but the answer depends on what kind of shift you want to make, right? It's very normal for people to want to shift after a long time. And remember, I was talking, jobs are changing, the economics, the markets are very, fragile. They're changing all the time. So that means sometimes we have to change everything, including our career, our path, and look at something better. And that's totally fine. But the question is, what do you want to change to? And you have to ask, if you, let's say you want to change from A to B, you have to ask, what do you need for further education or further training in B? What kind of skills that you will need in B that you don't have yet? Maybe you'll have some of the skills in A while you're working for 12 years. There might be an overlap, which is great. But if there isn't, you have to discover. That's why doing some research on your next step, including in a step like this, which is very big step. And again, nothing is wrong with it. You have to ask, to what are you changing? What kind of education or training or certificates? Sometimes it's not a full education, like a bachelor's or master's. Sometimes it could be going through a training or getting certain certificates and so on, depending on what. And then how to get there. And the really important point is, whatever you want to shift to, be very honest and clear about what kind of resources you need to shift. Sometimes you need you have the resources. Sometimes you don't. If you don't have, whether be it money to pay for a certificate or money to pay for training, right? Or even for transportation, you have to go back and forth for 2 months to be able to get this training, even if it's free, right? So think about the resources you need to get there. And if you have them, great. If you don't, you can either think about how to get them or ask for help. Sometimes you can write to the place and say, I can do this, but can you help me with this? It's always okay to do that. And sometimes they have options for people who can only afford something, they will cover a portion and so on. Sometimes you don't have any options of resources, so you can think about an alternative. My point is you have to think about all these things in order to make such a shift, okay?
Yes, and
So now,
one more point, just to make sure, the one more point to add on that question. When you are looking for ways to develop your new career or get into the new field you want to get into, explore if there are faster or shorter ways to get there aside from the one you found, because you could have found one, like, okay, so I need 6 courses, I need training in this, I need that to become a professional in this specific role. But what if there's a role that's almost the same, but that one requires 2 degrees or 2 classes and less training, and you can essentially be doing the same job, right? So explore all the possibilities you have as well, because there might be a shorter way to do it.
great. So thank you. And now we're moving to the Q&A questions, which we will begin with the first one. Nada, do you mind taking the first one from Miriam Al-Mahri?
Let's see. Let me open Q&A real quick. All right. Yes. Okay. So how do you highlight the relevant experience, but also list your experience according to the year time? I'm thinking you mean like according to the time sequence, like which one came first. So to do that, you need to highlight your experiences based on relevancy to the position you want. Yes, because I've seen a lot of CVs, and many students might have more than one professional experience. In fact, a few, like 6 or 7. But they're applying, let's say, for an internship in a nursing hospital or nursing clinic, but all of their professional development or experience is in random fields that don't relate to the nursing one except one. That's the first one you place. So I would recommend you place your experiences or order your experience based on relevancy to the position you're applying to, then based on the year you gained that experience. Make sense?
Right.
Also, if you want to list your degrees as well, you make sure you do that based on the highest degree of relevancy. But yeah.
Thank you. The next question says, do we mention what we would like to learn from the job on the CV? Not directly, but there's at the beginning of the CV, you can always have a summary of who you are, of your experience, and what kind of thing you're searching for. There's always a summary, right? And in there, you can say, I'm a person with these skills. I'm interested in a place where I can apply and learn X, Y, and Z. So in writing it that way, you're not only showing them what you have, but also showing them what you would like to learn. And people appreciate it. I think it's a great way to do that. So that's a great way to do it. So the answer is yes, but do it in a very specific way, a specific context, right?
Yes,
and then the next one.
If you feel like you have more to add to that one, then you just make sure to mention it on your cover letter, not just CV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next question, how can we ask our connections to recommend us to companies?
That's a good one. Well, your connections are people who you've either interacted with personally on a professional level, or people who are working in the same field as you are, who you connected with via a few interests that you shared. Yes. So when it comes to communicating with them, make sure to maintain the professional communication when you talk to them, and make sure it's consistent, so that when it's time for you to ask for them to recommend you for companies, that won't literally be the first time you say hi to them. Yes. So there's a certain type of etiquette you need to employ when you're talking to other people and asking them to recommend you for companies or stuff. So you could say, I learned this new skill and now I have this skill set, and I noticed that you're working for XYZ company, and I was wondering if you would consider recommending me to them or mentioning me to them or seeing if they have any opportunities I could apply to. So be diplomatic and employ a professional type of communication.
Fantastic. So the next one says, is it bad to be where the wind leads? Well, if I have to make sure I understand you correctly, like, yani, do you mean to go with the flow? Yani, go with whatever comes your way? I think it depends on the situation. It depends on what you need for the time being, but also how that need can support you on the long run, in the long term. So it's always good to have this strategy, you know, the idea that you plan as if today is the last day, but also as if you're gonna live forever in a way. Both visions together, hand in hand. So it's really good to think like that. And so the answer is not clear-cut, yes and no. It all depends on what is your situation. Sometimes we are in situations where we really need to work, we really need something, or as some of you said, you know, some people in our family would want us to become an engineer or a doctor or nothing else. So it depends on the situation, but we should always try to negotiate and find ways to get where we want. And nowadays, a lot of you know, academic degrees and even work experiences allow you to be very versatile and able to move from one place to another. So it's never the end of the world, as long as somehow you're working on acquiring the right skills and thinking about the options that might work for you later. So again, I hope this answered the question. This is the best way I can answer it given the way I'm understanding it. So thank you for sharing it with us. Should we include our picture on our CV or online profile? With the online, usually people do. With LinkedIn, in the CV, it's not recommended in many places. I know that in some countries they still do it, including in the في العالم العربي, it's still done. And I've heard some places in Europe they still do that, but generally it's becoming more and more not desired, not encouraged. السبب إنه because when you have your picture, it could cause discrimination. Somebody might not look at you just because they don't like how you look or because they think this and that, right? So to make the process of the job application usually very fair and very unbiased, it's recommended not to have a picture or mention your age or mention your marital status. And in many cases, even citizenship, unless it's asked by HR in a specific form that you fill out. And so I would recommend that you think about this. It's much better for you not to do that. If you're thinking about making sure that no biases are applied or can take place while you apply.
Louis, I'd just like to add one thing. So when it comes to online profiles, generally there's an algorithm that favors accounts that have their profile picture on there. So let's say you're an account that is open to work and you want to be open to recruiters. The more information and the more detail you have on your LinkedIn profile or even your profile on Bates, the more likely it is going to be recommended to an employer. But I feel like the advantage you have with LinkedIn is you can get slightly creative with your profile picture where, you know, using an unflattering passport picture that, you know, one would normally use on your CV, you can actually use one that's a bit more personable, but again, still professional. So not like your typical Instagram or Facebook profile picture, but something maybe with a lighter background, maybe where you're smiling in it, something that's inviting to your profile. So hopefully that gives you some more context.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
So moving on to the next question. Question says, are job postings on social media to be trusted? This is a good one, and I'll cover it briefly. The question on social media, job postings in recent days have been more abundant. So it's very possible for you to find a legitimate job offering or job posting on social media, because that's where most of the young generation go to look for opportunities. That being said, I would exercise caution. So when you view a job posting on social media, make sure you read about the position and the company very well, that you open a completely different link, go to Google, for example, and search for that company, verify many of the information listed in that job opening, and maybe even contact them via the information in the company website instead of what is in the job opening. That way, you guarantee that it's not a scam, and if it is, you'll find out. That makes sense.
And speaking of, when I said do not send your CV on apps and stuff, it was a general advice, as I said, not always. And someone asked, what if they ask you to send it through WhatsApp? Then fine. If they do, great. But it's always good to make sure to ask them, would you like me to email it? Would you prefer that I, you know, to send it to you? Which way do you want me to send it? How do you want me to send it? So that's the best way to do it. I'm trying to look at other questions. Writing as much assignments as possible in my study and asking the professor to give me feedback on each. Is it a good goal? Yes, of course, it's a very good goal to do that. And getting feedback is very helpful, because sometimes you need time to answer the feedback, to respond to the feedback. So that's a very good thing to do. And especially if you're taking summer courses, but also if you're preparing for certain courses that could save you time in the next semester. So that's a very good strategy. It depends on the situation. So I hope that answers the question. Nada, you want to take the next one?
Yes, I just want to make a quick note, because we have way too many questions and we're almost out of time, and I don't want to like finish up the webinar before addressing all the questions you guys asked. So please make sure to make note of your questions in case we don't get to them, and email them to the question advice channel or the question advice email, because we answer those questions and we reply to you directly. So you'll be able to get your questions answered if we don't get to them tonight.
I wrote you the email for everybody. I wrote the email in case you all need the email to email us with questions.
Dr. Lewis shared it in chat right now. It's advising@youngthinker.org. All right.
Perfect.
Okay, so the next question, let me see. A person I know was told by HR that volunteering isn't real experience, and that 1 to 2 month internships are basically nothing because it's just not enough to be counted as real experience. What is really considered enough in terms of experience? That is actually not true, because volunteering and internships are considered real professional experience. But if it's like 1 month or 2 months, then you might need to have more opportunities listed on your CV to demonstrate a longer length of time, because usually the experience is counted by year, 1 year experience, 2 year experience, etc. So if you have an internship that was 2 months, that's just 2 months. So if you have another volunteering opportunity that you worked on during the summer that was 3 months, and you did the virtual experience I mentioned earlier for a couple of months, that could add up to a 1 professional year experience. So it just depends on the length of time you have experience for, but volunteering opportunities, community service, internships, working with local businesses, all of those count as real professional work experience. All right. Next question, let's see. I am currently partaking in a workshop, which is an initiative by Microsoft. Can you recommend a way I can include that on my LinkedIn, perhaps as experience or volunteer work? Participating in a workshop isn't an experience per se, but that would be an opportunity that you would list under initiatives that you have taken. So if you want, you could say that you took the initiative to attend a workshop to learn XYZ from Microsoft, or a Microsoft workshop attendee, if you want. And if they do have a certificate, list that certificate on your LinkedIn profile and CV. All right.
All right, Lewis and Ned, I know we have a lot of questions, and we've been you know, you guys have been great answering them, but I do want to take this opportunity to again reiterate what Dr. Lewis said. Any question you have throughout any time in the summer, you can email Dr. Lewis and Nada. They will answer you through email. But I also want to take the time to share our Young Thinkers Program platform. So let's get that screen up and running. Okay, so as you can see on your screen, this is the Young Thinkers Program profile. Nada, can you do me a favor and write that into chat, the URL? So it's
right now.
Okay, thank you so much. So it's youngthinker.org. You create an account with us free of charge anywhere if you reside within the Arab world and the MENA region. You can create this account. It's for free again, and you can access it through either English or the Arabic language, depending on your language of preference. We offer a Me3 career exploration quiz. So once you're in the program, you click on start, and what you will see are 2 pictures in front of you 60 times, and then you you get a suggestion of 25 different careers that best suit your personality and interests. So if you're still planning your future this summer, this is a great way to start learning about the different careers that you probably never even heard of that will suit you. Moving on to our next feature, we have courses again. These courses are written by experts in their field. So from Arizona State University, a lot of them, a lot of the instructors who have also wrote for the Young Thinkers program are knowledgeable within the Middle East. So all these courses are tailored to information and statistics that are within the Middle East. So it makes it different than your typical online course where you would find that's, given by Western institutions. So it's all relevant information that also pertains to your experience. Every single course is offered in English and Arabic. There are courses such as math, there are courses in math if you feel like you struggle in math from Arizona State University, and it's free through this platform. There's also an English composition course. So if you feel like you want to also spend your summer learning English and perfecting your English writing skills, again, the course from Arizona State University is for free on the Young Thinkers program. Lastly, we have this advice section or this tab that says messages here. If you click on messages, you are going to be directed, one second while it loads, to resource channels. Now in our announcements channel, we usually post different opportunities. So job opportunities, webinar opportunities, internships. We have a new series called Fact or Fiction that's out, any career fairs, all those updates, they are found here on our announcements channel. And if you want to connect with a success advisor, if you are residing within the UAE, you can directly chat with a success advisor. So since I'm female, I have a female account, I have advisor Nada, and I can send a message to her about any college or career related questions. However, this feature is not yet available for people residing outside of the MENA region, but for now, what we do have is something similar, which is a question and advice channel. So we provide you a link where it says, have a question for your success advisor, submit your question here. You click on it and you are directed to a form where you can submit your question to a success advisor, and a success advisor, again, Lewis or Nada, will respond back to you via email. What we also do is that we post all like the very popular questions that we receive here that you guys can read through them. Again, all these questions that are posted here are anonymous and no names are used. Some of them Dr. Lewis and Nada even record if they're very popular amongst our users, if we have that question coming in again and again. Each question on our each channel on our resource channels are available in both English and Arabic. So any question on the question advice channel that's in English, you will find the question and answer on Arabic as well. So everything is dual language based on your preference. Again, you choose the language you want to take. So hopefully that answers any questions about how you can spend your summer being protective with the Young Thinkers program. Again, the URL is www.youngthinker.org. Neda has left that in the chat. And what I'll do also at the end of this webinar, hopefully by tomorrow morning, you should receive an email with the recording of this webinar, as long as all the links to help you register for this program. So keep an eye out on your emails for that. Dr. Lewis and Neda, do you guys have anything else you would like to share?
Well, I was just going to say that Neda and I responded to some questions in writing. So I hope that was helpful. And then we have one more question that I would like to answer quickly before we close, which says, any advice on how to advertise yourself? If I wanted to start freelancing, most tips I found online were mostly from Westerners and barely anything about UAE. This is a very good point, a very good question, and very valid. And I think the best way you can do, sometimes searching in Arabic, Googling in Arabic and putting the name of the country can help you find resources specific to the country. So that's one way to do that. Sometimes it may not be necessarily just through searching online. As you said, there might not be enough resources. And so what you could do is have what we call information interview. If you know some freelancers in the UAE who are doing something close to what you want to do, but even if it's not close, you can still have a chat with them and say, can I have an information interview? I would love to learn more about how you do this work. What are the challenges? What are the benefits? And so on and so forth. So having information interview can be very, very helpful with people. And like they can teach you about the exact place where you're working and learn a lot of information. And you never know where these connections could lead. So this could count also as professional networking. So that's a very good way, I think, to do it. So I hope this helps. But, you know, other than that, thank you so much all for being with us. It was truly a pleasure. I had a wonderful time chatting with you and talking about this and looking at your questions and answers on the polls. Thank you so much. It was really a pleasure. And we look forward to having you in the future again. And back to my colleagues.
All right. I left everyone a link for a survey. If you guys can let us know. We always like to learn from you guys on ways we can improve ourselves. So it's in the chat. So if you guys have 30 seconds of your free time to just fill out that survey would really mean a lot to us. Again, thank you guys so much. And please stay tuned for any future webinars. Check your emails regularly and check your announcements channel on the Young Thinkers program. And don't forget to follow us on social media at Al Ghurair Foundation. Neda, would you like to say anything before we close out the session?
I just want to say, don't be strangers. Let's hear your questions and see all of you again.
Yeah, we look forward to having you guys all on the Young Thinkers program. Wishing everyone a great evening or morning.